order at 8:23. And if we could all please rise, Mr. Vice President Barr is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
And I do have a flag in this room that I'm looking at, so.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Vice President Barr. Good evening and welcome to the May 24th study session of the Livonia City Council. This meeting will set the agenda for the 1,922nd regular meeting, a voting meeting, that will take place on Monday, June 14th, 2021. We have one council absence this evening. Councilmember Jolly is not here. I have just one announcement. Actually, I'm going to make two announcements. The first is that the Capital Outlay and Infrastructure Committee meeting will be meeting via Zoom on May 25th at 7 p.m. to discuss how water rates are determined. And water rates are on the agenda this evening. And also just reminding everyone that the next meeting of the City Council, the regular meeting, which will be on June 14th, followed by the study meeting that evening, will be in person at City Hall in the auditorium with no Zoom or call-in participation by either council members, the city administration, or the audience. Council, does anyone else have any announcements they'd like to make? All right, seeing none, we will go ahead with audience communication. Does anyone in the audience have any item that they would like to communicate with the council on that is not on this evening's agenda? Seeing none, we'll move ahead with our agenda. This is a study meeting, as I mentioned. There are no votes taken this evening. The council members will, however, offer either one resolution or a combination of resolutions for each item. The resolutions offered may include an approving, denying, or referring resolution to committee or city department for its report and recommendation. A resolution of no further action may also be offered. There are some items that will simply be received and filed for the information of the City Council. Please note that all of the items on tonight's agenda will move on to the regular meeting agenda of Monday, June 14th, 2021, where they will officially be voted upon. If you'd like to participate in any of the agenda items that are taken up this evening, please use the raise your hand button if you're joining us via Zoom, or press *9 on your phone when the item is called and you'll be recognized at the appropriate time. Generally, the petitioner, whether that is the city or a private entity, will make the initial presentation followed by remarks from those in the audience who wish to speak. When you are called on to speak, please state your full name and address for the record so that your remarks may be properly attributed to you in the minutes for the meeting. It will also let the council and those in the audience know who is speaking to them. And when you're recognized, and if you're on the phone, you need to just press *6 in order to unmute yourself. So we will begin with item number 1. This is a block party. The request comes from Margaret Alvarado in representing Julia's Barbershop, to be held Saturday, July 24th from 1 to 6 p.m. on the corner of Cavour Street and 5 Mile Road, the beginning of the alley, with the rain date of July 25th, 2021. And do we have a representative from Julia's Barbershop or Margaret Alvarado with us this evening? All right, it appears that we do not. Councilmember White.
Madam Chair, the paperwork looks to be in order, and I would be happy to offer an approving. I'm comfortable with it being placed on consent, but if anybody wants to put it on the regular, I wouldn't object to that either. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Vice President Barr.
I don't recall ever having a problem with one of these block parties, but I have one question about this one. With its location being right off the 5 Mile, just concerned about safety with cars quickly trying to turn in there in a place where the buildings are right up by the road and not realizing there's a block party there. Is there anyone, I don't even know how this is handled. Does the city go out and put out the barriers, or do we leave that up to the people doing the residents doing the block parties?
It's generally left up to the residents to pick up the barriers from DPW. Please correct me, DPW, if I'm not correct on that, but I believe it's the responsibilities of the residents.
Okay. For that reason, I think I'd prefer this be on regular because I'd like an
Okay.
opportunity to talk to the petitioner about that. Thanks.
All right. Sarah, I know that they were, made aware of this meeting and asked to be here. Can you follow up, please, as you always do, and just let them know we'd like to have somebody here next week for that, to talk about the traffic implications. Thank
And
you.
Madam President, if
Vice President Barr.
through the chair to Sarah, when you talk to them, feel free to encourage them to call me directly if they prefer, and I can talk to them about my concerns prior to that meeting. Thanks.
All right, item number 2 is a request to waive the city's noise ordinance. This comes from Judy, and please correct me if I mispronounce it, Tenaglia, to host a gathering with live music in the back of their home located at 15367 Susanna Circle on Sunday, July 25th, 2021, from 2 to 9 p.m. with a rain date of Sunday, August 1st, 2021. Good evening, Ms. Tenaglia. You should be able to mute yourself. There we go. Did I mispronounce your name?
No, that's fine. And
Okay.
I want to thank you for putting my request on the menu.
You are welcome.
Okay. It's basically just a backyard barbecue, and we are having a small band.
Okay.
I wanted to make sure that, with COVID, that I haven't done anything wrong.
All right. Councilmember Toy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like this young woman's as approving on our menu. So I hope she's going to have a good menu too. Much congratulations to you, miss, and have a good time.
Chicken and hot dogs.
Oh, okay.
Sounds delicious. Councilmember Donovan.
Madam President, I just wanted to know if we could ask the petitioner what kind of food they're going to have on the menu, and then what is the cover charge to get in to see the band? Because I plan on seeing this.
Well, you have my address. No charge for you.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right.
What about the rest of us?
Okay, no charge for anybody.
All right. Councilmember Toy.
Regular.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bernier, did you say something?
Yeah, I didn't know if that was on consent or regular. I needed to get that down.
That's, I believe, on consent. Is that correct?
Consent?
That's on
Yes,
consent.
consent.
So that means, Ms. Tenaglia, that you do not need to return to the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy the party.
Okay, thank you.
All right, item number 3 is an award of bid. This comes to us from Livonia Fire and Rescue for supplying uniforms and related uniform items for a period of 3 years from budgeted funds. Chief, are you covering this evening?
I am. Good evening,
All right.
Madam President.
Good evening, Chief Hebner.
Good evening, Madam President and fellow council members. I'm here tonight to request approving a resolution to accept the bid for our uniform services. We went out for bid. We go out every 3 years to renew the bid for these services. Ali Brothers, who you all know is a long-standing local business and offers excellent on-site service for the department, was the lowest bid submitted that actually met all of the qualifications. So this would be a 3-year bid approval with also the option to extend 2 years at the end of that 3 years automatically if we so chose to do that. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember White.
I have no questions. I would like to offer an approving on consent if there's no objection.
All right. I see no objections. We will place that on consent. Item number 4 is request to approve amendment to lease between the City of Livonia and the Livonia Public School District. This comes to us from the Department of Parks and Recreation to allow the city to continue to utilize John Stomelski, said it for 15 years, Veterans Park and Mies Park until 30th, 2026, with the option to extend the lease for 5 additional years with John Stomelski Veterans Park and 10 additional years with Mees Park on the same terms. These were council resolutions 139-00, council resolution 368-00, and 161-11. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Council President. Ted Davis, representing Parks and Recreation. As Council President said, and it is a mouthful there, Stamelski must have been tough in kindergarten to spell that name. But we are asking that Council approve the lease extension with Livonia Public Schools for Mees and Stamelski Veterans Park. This has been something we've been working with LPS.
Sorry, I don't know if anyone else is, I'm having a little bit of difficulty hearing you.
Okay.
Maybe it was just, maybe I was the only one.
Nope. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, great. Again, as Council President said, we are asking for lease extensions approved with LPS for Mees and Stamelski Park. We've been working on this with Livonia Public Schools for quite some time, and we're happy to finally have agreements in hand and before City Council. Again, these are merely extensions of the existing leases, some of which have expired several years ago, but we are thankful again for Livonia Public Schools for working with us and bringing this before Council. I'd be happy to answer any questions Council might have on this.
Council Member Toy.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I would like to offer an approving, if I may. Samowski Park, we've done this, many times before. Nice little park. So I'd offer an approving, I guess, on consent if there's no objection.
All right. Anyone have any objection? Anyone from the audience wish to speak on this? Seeing none, we will place it on the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Number 5 is a request to approve an amendment to the sublease agreement between the City of Livonia and Livonia Civic Arenas. This comes from the Department of Parks and Recreation regarding changes in term for Devonair Ice Arena from 5 years to 5 one-year agreements and an increase in the base ice rate for the 2021 through 2022 ice season with annual increases thereafter. This is Council Resolution 376-15.
Thank you, Council President. Again, Ted Davis on behalf of Parks and Recreation. We are looking for an updated lease agreement with Livonia Civic Arenas for the Devonair Ice Arena. What we've seen over the past several years is a steady decrease in Livonia Hockey Association and overall ice skating teams, which is making Devonair putting Devonair in a more and more tenuous situation regarding its continued operation. We want to work with LCA. They've been our partner for a long time here. They do a great job. And what they asked of us was to simply take a 5-year lease extension and give them 5 one-year options, which we are happy to do. We want them to continue to be successful. We want them to continue operating Devonair Ice Arena, and this is a way for us to continue that partnership as long as we possibly can. The ice increase on the base rate is merely a formality. It is a contractual. If they would have renewed their lease with us for the 5 years, that would have been the ice rate for the 21-22 season of $217 per hour. So there was no real increase. The language there, 4% or CPI, Consumer Price Index, whichever is greater, again, is language that was already in the existing agreement, the previous agreement. I'd be happy to answer any questions council might have on this.
I'll go first to Councilmember McCullough and then to Councilmember Donovan.
Madam President, I remember skating at Devonair for the past probably 35 years. And, it's a great arena, right at West Chicago and Merriman area. Grew up playing high school hockey there. Moving on to the Livonia Civic Arenas, especially to touch base, the hockey has been declining, but it's funny, I'm looking at my 6-year-old who we're signing up for the Livonia Knights 8U that is growing. So there is some hope out there. A lot of times these arenas have those very costly evaporating cooling towers. And ice is not easy to maintain. It costs money. It's a lot of energy that goes into it. The Livonia Civic Arenas, they've put up with me personally throughout the adult hockey years. So for that alone, I support them. But on top of that too, $217 in a perspective of hockey arenas. I mean, some of our neighboring communities are upwards of $350 an hour. So they operate a great game. Love to have them, and I'm hoping to, fingers crossed, that we get hockey growing again. So if there's no objections, I'd be happy to offer an approving for consent.
Thank you, Council Member McCullough. Council Member Donovan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through the chair for Mr. Davis. This question might not be for you, but just out of curiosity, have you spoken to them about a plan that they have for the future to try to get more hockey players into the doors to make more money?
Councilmember Donovan, I mean, that's a great question. One of the things, they can only do so much. I mean, right, they're trying to do more on the adult end of it. Livonia Hockey Association is who oversees and runs the youth programs and offerings. LCA also does offer Learn to Skate and figure skating program through Eddie Edgar and Devonair. So, I mean, they're definitely attempting additional programming and offering new things. One meeting I do have coming up is with the president of Livonia Hockey Association, try to see where we can partner and grow the sport. I think that's obviously the more kids we get playing, and Stevenson and all these teams usually do extremely well at the high school level. I mean, we want to see that continue, and we simply need to introduce as many kids as possible to the sport if we want to maintain 3 sheets of ice and 2 ice arenas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks, Mr. Davis. You bring up good points. I mean, hockey's an awesome sport, and I know a lot of kids I grew up with. I played hockey and not competitively, just for fun, but it's a really big sport, and I'd hate to see arena on the southern side of town have to close down because of lack of business, and they just can't afford the bills. So hoping we can do anything possibly can to keep them running. Thanks, Mr. Davis.
All right, so we have that offered on consent. We'll move right along. Item number 6 is a request to approve the purchase and installation of a pavilion through the Sourcewell purchasing program. This too comes to us from the Department of Parks and Recreation to replace the existing pavilion at Clement Circle Park from budgeted funds.
Thank you, Council President. Again, Ted Davis representing Parks and Recreation here. We are asking for the replacement of a pavilion at Clement Circle Park. The current one is a 20 by 20 shelter with shingle roof, or excuse me, a 24 by 24 with a shingle roof. We're asking for a replacement. This is one of our last shingle roof shelters we have in the system. This project was previously approved by council when in an IGA with Wayne County. Part of this is going to be reimbursable through our Wayne County Parks Funds grant. I'd be happy to answer any questions council might have on this project.
Councilmember McCullough.
Madam President, through the chair to Mr. Davis, I'd like to commend you and this team for focusing on Clement Circle Park. I know that if I'm right, hasn't there been a lot of new developments that we've had, whether it's the walking path, the pool, obviously with the splash pad, the new playground. I think and that's all been within the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, Councilmember McCullough, that has definitely been within the last 6 years since I've been here. So, yeah, I mean, with the pool, we've done playground replacement there, and obviously the pool was a large capital expenditure. The playground was certainly, we think, a nice addition. We have moving forward some path repairs going on there, and then obviously we think with the development approved that the former middle school site there that we'll have some additional parking as well. I think we've really addressed Clement Circle on the south end very, very well, and I think this will be one of the, and knock on wood, one of the last projects we undertake there for a period of time for sure.
Yeah, no, thank you, and well done. I'm sure that the Clement Circle Association thanks you as well. So, yeah, if there's no objections, I'd offer an approving for consent.
All right, Councilmember Donovan and then Councilmember Toy.
Thank you, Madam President. Through the chair for Mr. Davis, kind of to piggyback off of Councilman McCullough, hats off to you and your department for the focus you do in all the parks, but it's awesome to see Clement Circle getting these upgrades. I was going to ask a question about the pavilion. I couldn't find it in the packet earlier, but I did find it. If there's going to be any seating built into the pavilion, and looking at the renderings, it doesn't look like there'll be any kind of seating. Am I correct?
That's correct, Councilman Donovic. We tend to not put in fixed seating in these. We want, most groups want the picnic tables they can move around and we can easily replace, as wear and tear dictates. So no fixed seating in these.
Okay, yeah, and does that seem like the new direction that you are going with pavilions, a more like a metal style roof as opposed to the traditional shingle roof? And are you seeing a longer longevity out of the life of those roofs?
Yeah, I think that's the direction we've gone for about the past 15 years. And what we've seen is the anti-graffiti makes it a little more difficult to mark up and a little easier to clean up if it is. Also, and aside from a major branch or something hitting it, a metal roof will basically last, I don't want to say quite forever, but I'll be long gone by the time it needs to be replaced. So with a shingle roof or an asphalt roof, there's obviously more wear and tear potential and replacement needs that would go on. So we think these metal roofs have been a good investment for us. I mean, we're not going around replacing them or repainting them. They've held up very well. So again, unless something falls on it significant, we're pretty much maintenance free here.
No, thank you for that, Mr. Davis. And the last question, since we are building it new, is power going to be provided to the pavilion for people to plug in stuff, or?
No, we have no plans to place power out there. We typically only do that in our staffed areas. So really the only pavilions that have power is going to be Rotary Park, and really that's Pavilion 1 at Rotary Park. The rest of them do not. Mees actually does have power nearby. Stamelski does have power nearby. So there are the odd ones that do have power boxes nearby. But for the most part, we do not want to get into where we've got outlets out there.
Understood. Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Councilmember Toy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Davis, if I may, Madam Chair, is there any plans with the new development that's going to be right in that area? Is there anything that perhaps the developer can help us with as well? I know that Wayne County, I'm sure Commissioner Marecki helped us out, and the other commissioner, and his name's failing me. He just got appointed to the health as an
David Kniezek.
Yeah, Kniezek. Yeah, I think that's part of his district as well. The commissioners have been so generous for us, getting those dollars, and they're taxpayer dollars coming back to us. And you've done a miraculous job in your team, over the many years that I've sat here, really paid attention to the south end, particularly that area. It's just been miraculous. And that's why I was wondering, maybe we'll have to look at if there's some other needs down there. Perhaps we can get those met by a few others too. Just a suggestion as we move forward.
We are always open to utilizing other resources or all resources available to us, including obviously our county commissioners and any private contractors or citizens that would help us along the way. We are hopeful that, again, that parking lot expansion, which is being done as a part of that new development immediately to the south, that's a significant improvement for that site. And certainly people on Harrison are going to notice the difference there every day during the summer when there aren't cars parked up and down the street. So, we're constantly looking for improvements, and we think that's a great partnership we have with Sauvays and Infinity Homes.
That's excellent. And it just lastly, do we, not that I need numbers, but just, and I guess I don't need reassurance, but just for our viewing audience and others, that park is well, not only maintained, but it's well received, as well as the pool. Anytime I've been down that way, it's been packed, especially in the summer. Is that true, Mr. Davis? It's pretty well used, not year round, obviously, but it's one of our parks that is very popular, correct?
I would agree. I would say from a neighborhood park, and we classify Clement Circle as a neighborhood park, where a Ford, a Sheldon, a Bicentennial, a Rotary, or community parks, just because of how large they are and location off of major thoroughfares. I would say Clement Circle is our most popular community park.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Certainly. All right, anyone from the audience? Seeing none, we'll go on to item number 7. This is a request to authorize appropriation expenditure. Thank you, Ted.
Thank you.
Department of Public Works to enable payment to Lakeshore Global Corporation, LGC, for the emergency pressure reducing valve PRV-4 replacement 8 Mile and Newburgh Roads in conjunction with Great Lakes Water Authority, GLWA, wholesale meter replacement from unexpended fund balance. Mr. Rushlow. Oh, let's see. All right, Jacob, you should be all set.
Thank you. Good evening again. Jacob Rushlow from the Department of Public Works. So as you recall, a few months back, we had come before you to discuss this planned project with the Great Lakes Water Authority, working in conjunction with them to replace one of our wholesale water meters located near the intersection of 8 Mile and Newburgh Road. This project required a shutdown of that meter connection, which is the city's single largest water source from the GLWA system. That project was planned to take about 2 weeks to complete. There were 2 contractors involved. D'Angelo Brothers was working on the city side of the components in that water meter vault, and Lakeshore Global was working on behalf of Great Lakes Water Authority on their side of the system. So after the shutdown was initiated and D'Angelo Brothers commenced beginning the demolition portion of the city system, we had an issue that arose at our secondary feed, which was backfeeding this area of the city's water system at 8 Mile and Haggerty Road, about 1 mile to the west of this project location. When this happened, the water division had to perform manual operations to control the water system and maintain proper flows and pressures on a rotating 24-hour schedule in the northwest portion of the city. So to expedite the project completion and try to limit the extent of variable water pressures throughout the city, we authorized GLWA's contractor, Lakeshore Global, to engage in completing our portion on the city side of the PRV work to get that done as soon as possible. This enabled the project to be completed in 1 week instead of 2, and the city's water system was able to be returned to normal operations in half the time that was expected. So with that explanation, the department is requesting council to authorize payment in amount of $19,646.19 to Lakeshore Global Corporation for completion of the PRV installation work.
Councilmember Toy.
Approving, Madam Chair.
Offering approval on consent.
Sure.
Okay, does anyone from council have any questions? Anyone from the audience have any questions? Seeing none, Jacob, that's on consent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 8 is a request to adjust water and sewer consumption rates, industrial surcharge rate, and industrial waste control charges comes to us from the Public Service Division to become effective on July 1st, 2021. Mr. Rushlow. Oh, are you handling that one?
Yeah, so thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight with me this evening to assist in going through the water and sewer rates is Connie Kumpela from the finance department. I'll let her speak here at the beginning, and I'll add a few comments towards the end.
All right. Good evening, Ms. Kumpela.
Good evening, Madam President and council members. We're here to talk about the proposed water and sewer rate, and this rate is built with a collaborative effort between DPW and finance. And when we look at this rate or setting this rate, our goal to build it is to be revenue neutral, which also means we're here just to basically cover our costs. And so if revenue neutral is our goal, then we need to understand what the costs are for the upcoming rate year. And we know that our wholesalers, Great Lakes Water Authority, where we buy our water, in Wayne County for sewage treatment, constitutes most of the costs that we need to cover with this rate. And so to that extent, if they increase their rates, we in turn need to increase ours. And GLWA did pass through a small increase this year, about 2% for both the per unit and the monthly charge. Wayne County has yet to send us our rate, but we can't wait for them. So we did build an increase into this rate as well from them, using an estimate about 3%. So once you look at all the costs that we have that we have to cover, that this rate has to cover, then you have to look at to see how are we going to recover those costs. And one of the things that we look at is our quarterly fixed fees. We've been charging this for a couple of years now. And when we looked at that, we decided for that fixed fee, the quarterly fee, we were not going to change that. It's at $69.75 per quarter for now for the small meter users. But we didn't feel that that needed to be increased in order to cover our costs. But what did increase this year was our proposed water and sewer variable rate, which saw a slight increase. And we had to do that again to accomplish our revenue neutral goal. And that rate increase is mainly due to our pass-through charges from our wholesale providers. The low volume users saw a 1.13% increase. The average volume user is a 1.58% increase, and the high volume user was 1.82%. Dollar-wise, for the average volume user, this translates to about $2.80 per quarter. One thing I did not talk about was Livonia costs. We have infrastructure, maintenance, administrative costs. All of these things also impact the water and sewer rate, but the Livonia cost only comprises about 31% of the total cost that we need to cover. So I'm going to let Jacob talk about the city's costs here and their impact on the water and sewer rate. And I just want to leave you with, again, that our proposed water and sewer rates reflect the cost of providing water service to our Livonia residents and was set as revenue neutral. Overall, Livonia users still pay much less for water services than users in most surrounding communities. And at the end, I will be happy to answer any questions or dive into any details that you want about this year's rate proposal.
Thank you, Connie. Excellent review. Council. Vice President Barr.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Madam President. I agree. That was a really good explanation. Thank you. I do have a number of questions. And let's see. Sorry, I'm going to pull the document up here so I can find the spot I'm talking about. There's a place in the documents that were provided to us. It's under a review of the water and sewer fund performance for fiscal year 2020. And I just need help understanding this. It says the water and sewer fund experienced a net operating gain of 1.8 million last year, but then it says later in the paragraph, it says operating revenue was down and operating expenses were up. I think I just answered my question. Never mind. When I read that earlier, I wasn't making sense, but it's making sense to me now as I read the details of that. Next question I have, there's a comment also in there about the administration is exploring ways to provide customer billing and collection services at reduced costs. Is there anything that you're prepared to talk about with what that is tonight?
I am not. Jacob, do you have anything?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Connie. I think the one thing that we always have been working on over the last, probably 6 or 7 years or so now is an implementation of our remote read system for water meters, which really streamlines some of the billing process, increases the accuracy of our meter reading and the frequency of our meter reading. So that's one big improvement that we've been working on to help with that aspect. Our smart meter changeouts, at this time last year when we were in front of you, we were at about 45% of the city was covered with that type of a system. We're now up to just over 64% of all water customers have a remote smart read system on their home to transmit that signal to us remotely. So that's one example.
Okay. Another question I have is, again, bear with me as I scroll here to find the numbers. The comparison of us to surrounding cities. I know in most years we've been delighted to talk about how we have the lowest rates and the lowest rate of increase of the surrounding communities. That's not the case this year. We're still at the lower end, but Farmington Hills and Canton, at least those with the sump pump, actually show lower than us. But I'm curious, have they addressed their rates yet this year? Are the rates that we're seeing here their latest, or do we anticipate theirs going up as well?
I know that not all of the communities have set their rates yet. I believe Canton, I think they just renegotiated their contract on the sewer side, and I can't remember. I don't have it with me. I should have brought it with me, but I think they just renegotiated their sewer contract, which is why, and it's not with Wayne County, which is why their rates dropped significantly.
Okay, which maybe is a nice segue into my next question, which is, I know there's been talk, this isn't so much related to the rates tonight, but just long-term, there's been talk about maybe forming a separate authority that Livonia would be part of. There's been talk about, a water tower. Any new news on those items?
Yeah, I can answer that. I think, looking at that list too, Councilman Barr, in comparison to those other communities, two things that we did see recently over the last few years, well, it's been a few years now, Farmington Hills, had installed their water tower that you can see from I-275, and that enabled them to renegotiate a contract with GLWA as a max day customer, where they're able to use that storage volume of water in that tank to shave their peak high demands in maximum demand period. So they're shaving that peak off and staying at a maximum sustained level of flow, which reduces their costs and the cost of delivery of water to them during peak demand. Canton Township, very similar scenario. They just did that a few years ago with a large ground storage reservoir. They've optimized that system. They're now fully functional as essentially, again, a max day customer, similar to Farmington Hills. And what Connie had alluded to with the change on their sewer side, because they're a part of the Western Township Utility Authority for sewer service, which had the ability to switch between sending sewage to Wayne County, or they could send it to the Ypsilanti Community Utility Authority system and their wastewater treatment plant down in Ypsilanti. So they had renegotiated contracts as well with YCUA, and are now, the entire Western Township Utility Authority is sending all of their sewage flow to the YCUA system instead, at a great reduced rate to what they were paying here through Wayne County. So they're able to see that cost benefit as well, which helped to lower their costs.
Okay, so are we continuing to look at the water tower option for ourselves, or we're
I apologize. Yes, that was
no, it's okay. I appreciate the information you provided.
Big part of your question. So yes, we absolutely are still looking at that scenario and what it would look like for us us as a city to implement potentially a water storage reservoir of some kind. We had engaged our engineers to open up the study that was done back in 2016, using current demand scenarios, costs, all those good things, and kind of update that study. We'll have that and be able to share that with everyone shortly.
Okay, I'll look forward to that. And then final question, back on the rates, the rate comparison question, just to refresh my memory, were we the lowest last year? I mean, prior to this change?
We were second lowest.
Okay, Canton was still the lowest, I assume. Okay. All right. Just want to make sure I got my ducks in a row when I get questions about it, and I'm spouting accurate facts. So appreciate your clear explanations of things and all your work on this. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Councilmember Donovan.
Thank you, Madam President, through the chair for Mr. Rushlow. If you don't mind me asking, Mr. Rushlow, why are, maybe you already said so, but maybe I missed it. Why is a city like Canton able to have a lower cost than we are?
Yeah, good question. So there's really the two main factors. Is one, they recently installed a water storage reservoir to help them maintain a maximum day flow as a customer instead of a peak demand flow, peak hour scenario. So they can shave that off their demand curve. And the other is the change to that, what I mentioned, the Western Township Utility Authority sewage rate. When they send that flow now to Ypsilanti, it's at a great reduced rate from what they're paying, what Livonia is paying through the Wayne County system.
Thank you, Mr. Rushlow.
You're welcome.
Jacob, oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Toy.
Oh, I'm sorry. If I made it, Mr. Rushlow or Connie, and I'm sorry, I don't have my backup information up on the screen here. Can you help me out? When is the last time we didn't have a rate increase for the city of Livonia? Is it in recent memories?
Are you talking about the flat fee?
Yeah, any kind of rate increase. Have we always had a rate increase over the last how many years? Since I've been council,
Yep.
I don't remember, except when I went after them in the Senate, they did not go after Livonia finally. And they didn't give us a rate increase. I've been back in the year 2004.
Yeah,
If you had any kind of background on that, or if we could get a table on those, if I may.
yeah. In fact, we do include the residential water rate history. This dates back to 2012. And we have had a rate increase almost every year, but our rate increase though for the last 5 years has been less than 3% combined. So while we have had a rate increase every year, we have maintained a relatively low rate increase.
Okay. So that's been since 2012 for your records that we've had rate increases every year.
Yeah, except for this low usage user, year 1 to 2, we had a decrease from 12 to 13, but every year after that, it's been an increase. But like I said, we still maintain for all small meter users types for the last 5 years, it's been less than 3% overall.
Right. And we also have an administrative fee tacked on to those water bills as well that other cities don't necessarily have as well. And I don't know how many, I didn't take an inventory of that, but
Sure.
Just wondered. Just wanted to point that out. Madam Chair, if we may, I would like, I'm sure there'll be an improving resolution on this, but I'd certainly like it on the regular, please.
Excellent, thank you. Vice President Barr.
I just want to make sure I hear that right. You said over the last 5 years, there's been a cumulative increase of 3% what? What did you say?
Combined across all user types, it's been less than 3% on average.
Less than 3% total over the last 5 years.
No, average.
Average, not total.
Oh, less than 3% per year.
Correct. Well, for on average over the, right. So if you
Understand. So but that's an annual increase. That's not a total increase for the 5 years.
Correct.
A cumulative increase. Okay.
That is correct.
I'm glad I clarified that. Thank you.
Yep.
I have a question. Connie, in all the years that we've had, have we ever had an increase in a year when we did not as the payer? as the paying customer, GLWA, did we ever raise rates on our, on the people that we in essence resell the water to when we did not incur increased rates?
I don't have enough history for GLWA, personal history, on my part for setting the rates to remember if we've had a year where we didn't have a GLWA and we didn't also increase the residence rate. Am I saying that right? So no increase, I don't know of a year where we had no increase from, say, GLWA, but then we also increased a rate to the Livonia resident. I don't know of a year like that.
Right. Could you just before the next meeting, can we just double check that? I can't think of a year that I'm aware of, and I don't go back as far as some of the other council members do, but I paid attention to water rates for a long time. A year when we gave our residents an increase, again, for water that we are essentially reselling to them, when we didn't have an increase that we pay as the first line customer, if you will.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to place that on no, I don't have anything yet. Don? Councilmember, you did not offer an approving resolution, right? You just asked if one is offered that it doesn't go on consent. Is that?
Yes, please.
Okay, so we do not have an approving resolution.
Madam President.
Vice President Barr?
I'll offer an approving. It's important to remember with these things that with this being just a revenue neutral approach, that the actions that contribute to these things are all the things that get approved throughout the course of the year. So when we get to this point, there's really not, I mean, it's good to ask these questions to understand, but there's not much purpose in not approving these. The result of not approving these would be a deficit in the budget. The actions that lead to this are complete. So to me, we need to continue to ask these questions and continue to understand it, but there's no responsible thing to do here other than to approve this. I'll offer an approving. Thanks.
And I will go to Don. And if the other choice, right, would be, I believe that we would have the option if there's money in the unexpended fund balance to cover any deficit.
True.
But then if we start doing that, it affects our bond rating adversely, and then the city ends up paying more interest rates every time we have to borrow money for projects.
Madam President, sorry to jump in again, but not to mention that we've already seen on at least 2 occasions tonight, projects that have required us to go into that unexpended fund balance. So we see that ongoing. Thanks.
Yep. All right, thank you. Councilmember Toy, would you like to speak before I go to Mr. Roroff?
Yeah, I would, because my point was as well that we've always had rate increases. It wasn't since, if you go back in history, probably about 2004, 2000, whatever, right in that neighborhood, that they did rate increase. That's when Kwame was there and Ferguson playing their games and tactics. So, I mean, this has a long history, and forever we've had rate increases, whether it's residential, commercial, sewer, whatever you want to say. There's always been a little bit of a rate increase. And if you span that over, it is an increase, and it's an increase to our residents and others. So while, I get it, we're being held hostage. I mean, that's where we get our water from. Others have gone to a yucca system and other systems, which aren't as good. Don't get me wrong. Detroit water is clean. It's great, all that. But some of their systems sometimes are that you're paying for it. And I think our city people that represent us do a darn good job down there. It's just, I wish we could arm wrestle a little bit. I know 3% doesn't sound like a lot, but I'd just like to come to a council meeting one year and we don't have an increase. That's all.
Understood. All right, I'm going to go to Mr. Roroff.
Good evening, council. You hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm what Councilwoman Toy said. Yes, since my existence here, we've had increases only when we've had increases from whether it be DWSD and or GLWA.
It was actually, excuse me, Don, it was actually Council President McIntyre who asked that question.
Okay, sorry, I apologize.
No problem. You're welcome to confuse me with council member Toy anytime.
Okay, maybe it was the glasses. I don't have mine on, so maybe I should put them on.
You know, she's a Bentley graduate and everybody wants to be a Bentley graduate.
But yes, to that point, we have done a long history with the water rates in regards to as the fees in the way that we were being charged at the time. And I think maybe it was Councilperson Toy that brought up the admin fee or the fixed rate. And that's because the way that we were being charged rates was the way that we needed to turn around and charge our citizens and our residents and our businesses that way as well. But I'm pretty sure that hasn't increased in a really long time. We've worked really hard to keep that fixed fee constant, because that really does affect the single homeowner and the low users in that respect. So we worked really hard to keep that down. And again, I know this is pounding on a drum that's been beaten a few times tonight, but we really are working hard to just keep that revenue neutral. But I just wanted to confirm that. I know Connie said that her history with the rates on that portion of this wasn't as far, and mine probably doubles hers, but that's where we're at. That's where we're at. So I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in there. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. All right, do we have an approving resolution? Oh, Mr. Bauer, you offered one.
I did. Madam President, can I say one more thing?
Of course you may.
I'm sorry. I know that, but it's such an important topic and we deal with it annually, but and Don, please tell me or anyone, from DPW, tell me if I'm reading this wrong, but I just think it's evidence of the hard work done by administration to keep these low when we read that the increase from GLWA was a 1.92% wholesale per unit increase. Their fixed fee went up 2.07%. So both those around 2%. Livonia's average rate increase is 1.58, less than what we're getting from GLWA. Without seeing all the details of the numbers, that is evidence to me of some hard work being done to keep our rates as low as possible. So I just want to point that out. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, we have that placed on consent. Anyone from the audience? Councilmember White.
Madam Chair, I think that will be an ordinance amendment, so I think we need to put that on. The regular.
Pardon me? Yeah, it was on the regular. Did I say consent?
You did, yeah.
Sorry. I can't even make the excuse it's been a really long meeting, so I just made a mistake. All right, we will move on to item number 9. This is a request to renew the lease agreement between the City of Livonia and the Livonia Save Our Youth Task Force, Department of Law, for a period of 3 years beginning August 1st, 2021, expiring July 31st, 2024. Council Resolution 295-18.
Madam President,
Yes.
I'll move approval on this for consent if there's no objection.
All right, Councilmember McCullough.
Madam President, not sure who this would go to, but do we have the ability to amend any of the items in the agreement? I'm assuming we do. The only reason I bring this up is under 4-3 is the rental payment by tenant. With COVID and Livonia Save Our Youth has been such an integral part of the community. I know this is small, but it's showing that we have a 3% rate increase. And with the recent pandemic, I'm wondering if we could eliminate that. It's not much, but and just keep it the $403.15 a month.
Department of Law, do you want to come back with a?
Yeah, I understand what Mr. McCullough is saying, but the negotiating of the lease is a function of the administration and not that of council. And council's choice is, at this point, would be to offer a denying or an approving resolution on that. I do understand what you're saying,
No, you know, it was one of those things that as going through the packet, and like I said, it's not a ton. For that matter, I'll leave it the way it is and maybe pose on record the recommendation that future lease, maybe we look at that. So thank you.
All right. And unlike several of us, you will very likely still be here in 2024. I don't mean on this earth, I mean on this. Councilmember Toy.
Did we have an approving on this yet? No?
Mr. Barr.
Oh, Mr. Brown, good. Okay, thanks. Sorry. I just wanted to make it if we didn't have it.
All right, so Brandon, with that said, are you okay with it being on consent?
Absolutely.
All
Thank
right,
you.
it is on consent. All right, at this time, we go back to the audience. If anyone in the audience would like to communicate with council that on any item that was not on this evening's study agenda, now is an opportunity to do so. Seeing none, miraculously, we are adjourned at 9:18. Good night, Livonia. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, council. Thank you, administration, and thank you, Casey. And we can't wait to see everyone in person on June 14th. All right, good night.